Live from downtown Macon, this is WGXA News live on YouTube.
Good evening, Middle Georgia. I'm Amanda Peralta.
I'm Greg Lloyd. Amanda and I are thankful to have you here for WGXA News at 5:30 on YouTube. Our top story tonight, former mayor of Gray, Stephen Tingen, is dead after an apparent suicide.
Now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations is looking into his death. The news comes after the Monroe County deputies attempted to serve a search warrant at his home near Forsyth last week. They say they obtained that search warrant after learning of possible evidence that could be used to prosecute him for alleged improper contact with a child.
Sheriff Brad Freeman says after knocking on his doors, deputies entered his home and found Tingen dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was out on a $10,000 bond after his arrest in January in connection to those charges.
And a woman's relative says she's in stable condition after being shot by her ex-boyfriend yesterday morning in Milledgeville. According to the sheriff's office, 911 started getting calls early in the morning for shots fired at the West 49 apartments. They even got a call from a man saying he was the one being shot at. But Major Brad King says that the man turned out to be the shooter. Jasquarin Lewis was arrested after ambushing and forcing his way into an apartment and started firing shots from a rifle, hitting his ex-girlfriend several times. The victim drove herself to the hospital after being shot, and Lewis has been charged with aggravated assault and stalking. And a weekend shooting in Fort Valley has now turned deadly. Police say Vintavious Sanders was shot Saturday night on East Main Street when someone opened fire at a party that police were shutting down. No one else was hurt, but the shooter is still on the loose.
Two people are behind bars in connection to a double shooting in Crisp County back in March. Cordele police say 26-year-old Brandon Carter shot two men on West 24th Avenue on March 25th. When deputies arrested him on Wednesday, they also arrested 22-year-old 911 trainee Chessie Felder on one count of violation of oath of office by a public officer and hindering the apprehension of a criminal.
And in Bibb County, deputies are searching for the two suspects who robbed an O'Reilly Auto Parts last night. Deputies say two masked men with guns entered the store on Pionona Avenue just before 10 this morning and demanded money from the registers. They escaped with an undisclosed amount of money and left the store on foot. If you know anything, call the Bibb County deputies.
The doctor from Jones County accused of running a so-called pill mill is freed after pleading guilty in federal court for a second time for illegally prescribing drugs and laundering money. Thomas Sackey's charges were connected to a Georgia Pain and Behavioral Medicine Clinic in Gray.
Federal indictments say Sackey's office illegally handed out drugs like fentanyl, morphine, oxycodone, and methadone without examinations or medical purposes, and also improper dosages and combinations. We spoke to one of his patients back when he was first arrested in 2018.
I'm one of the best doctors. It's really helped me as far as mental and physical issues. I mean, this right here is going to hurt me because I trust him. He's a good doctor.
U.S. District Judge Clay Land sentenced Sackey to time served, which to date is more than 2 years in prison. Sackey's medical license and DEA registration have both been revoked.
Continuing coverage tonight on the train that hit a truck in Warner Robins yesterday. It's the second incident involving a train in Warner Robins in just 6 months.
Tonight, we are digging deeper into what happened as we learned the crossing reopened just this afternoon. Carlos Stevens was at the crash site yesterday and has been covering the story ever since. Carlos?
Guys, crashes involving trains are nothing new to Georgia. In fact, they happen more than people may think. Investigators say the truck was trying to cross the tracks when the crossing arm dropped between the truck's cab and a car on the back. The truck's driver couldn't get off the tracks before the train hit. He was able to escape without injury. Wayne Fisher is the interim chief for the Warner Robins Police Department. He says you never want to put yourself in harm's way when it comes to trains.
The train has right of way on the railroad tracks, and it's in your best interest not to put yourself or your vehicle in any kind of jeopardy with competing with a locomotive. It will win.
According to the Federal Railroad Administration, Georgia ranked 6th nationwide for crossing collisions. There were nearly 100 in Georgia last year. 2 people died. 24 others were hurt. Fisher says accidents with trains are preventable.
Well, it's very easy to prevent it by us being more patient as a motor and public when we approach crossing guards like that. If what we have behind us, and even other crossing guards that don't have drop arms, it's imperative that the motorists stop before the crossing and look both ways before they cross over the crossing itself.
I asked Fisher if the driver of the flatbed truck in the latest crash was at fault.
It would be the at-fault vehicle for the incident. Yes, sir. It is private property. The train industry owns the rail lines through any given jurisdiction. So if you stop and stand on the railroad track, you will be at fault for any incident that occurs on those tracks.
Norfolk Southern owns the train that was involved in Wednesday's crash. In a statement to WGXA News, they say, "We're grateful there were no injuries in this incident. This is an important reminder that railroad crossings can be uniquely dangerous places that always need extra caution to ensure everyone's safety." Now, guys, as you can see at this hour, traffic behind me is moving smoothly. A much better picture than yesterday. We're live in Warner Robins. I'm Carlos Stevens, WGXA News, guys.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Keeping our eye on Warner Robins, police responded to an accident this morning after a pedestrian was hit by a car. Officers found 33-year-old James Manning unresponsive on Russell Parkway near 5-Star Ford and Badcock Home Furniture. They say Manning was in critical condition when he arrived at a hospital. Officers are investigating, and they are saying all lanes on Russell Parkway are now open.
And a large dairy farm in Sumter County is making good after a federal lawsuit over pollution of creeks in the Flint River Basin. The lawsuit filed in 2019 accused Leatherbrook Holsteins LLC of violating the Federal Clean Water Act by discharging manure and wastewater from a confined animal feeding operation. In a consent decree entered in court Tuesday, the company agreed to make multiple changes to the operations to fix the problem, including removing thousands of heifers from certain fields, fencing off and grassing gullies, and installing clay-lined basins to catch runoff and groundwater monitors for sampling.
Summertime weather seems to be here, with storms firing up each afternoon and evening. Meteorologist Ryan Mirando is closely watching the radar tonight for the potential of severe weather and joins us live now. Ryan, tell us what we want to hear about the heat.
Yeah, man.
Keep the rain away, though. That's what I'm asking.
I'll do my best to keep the rain away. Most of us should stay dry tonight, but I am tracking this band of severe weather that's moving through Mississippi. Notice this bowing that's been moving through the past hour or so. That's normally a sign of some strong straight line winds that are moving through, and we will get a piece of the action of some severe weather that is possible. The areas that I'm really watching for are south and west of Macon through Taylor, Macon, Dooley, Crisp, and Sumter counties. On a scale out of 1 to 5, you're at a 1. So we could see an isolated storm or two turn severe really at sundown, 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Not expecting a widespread severe weather outbreak. Areas not shaded here probably won't get any rain for tonight. Not seeing any rain on the radar right now, but again, around sunset, we could get the storms fire up, and 1 or 2 of them may turn severe. A live lookout over Dublin tonight with our Wilson Bryant Heating and Air Skycast Network. A lot of sunshine out there. Temperatures are holding into the mid-80s. Most of the night should be dry for most of us. However, this weekend, we could see some rain chances for Mother's Day. I'll help plan it all out for you coming up in your full forecast. Greg, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Now is a great time to download the WGXA weather app. That's how Greg and I make sure our weekend plans can stay dry during the wet Georgia summers. The app lets you know what to expect down to street level. Ryan is back in less than 20 minutes with your 10-day forecast.
One Macon teen and Rutland High School student is living in fear after being assaulted multiple times by fellow classmates both on and off the school's campus.
WGXA sat down with him to discuss what has happened and the fear he now faces. 19-year-old Christopher Kalbach is a senior at Rutland High School. He says he's been jumped 4 times by other students in the school. The problems date back to September 2022 and have persisted for so long that Christopher is now afraid to attend in-person classes.
Kind of scary to go to school. I haven't gone the day it happened. I haven't gone to school yet.
In the most recent attack, Christopher says he was getting off the school bus on April 19th when multiple boys jumped out from behind these homes and beat Christopher, knocking him unconscious for several minutes and leaving him with multiple injuries, including bruised ribs and a swollen knee. He had to walk down this street to get home and call the authorities.
I was in pain, a lot of pain, because they hit me everywhere, more like in my head.
Christopher says he was originally friends with this group. However, the issues began when they began to engage in inappropriate behavior, like underage drinking and drug consumption. He says they were angered when he began to distance himself, and that's when they began to attack him. Now, in the first attack, Christopher says he was also hit in the back of the head, and he tried to defend himself, but he was suspended for 2 days and placed on in-school suspension for 2 more.
When it originally happened, I asked him what happened because he should not be fighting in school. And I've told him numerous times that you go to school to study, not to fight. That is when he told me that he had tried to defend himself, and that is why he got into the fight.
Bernardino says he tried to speak with the attacker's parents afterwards, and he was assured the problem would stop. However, it persisted. Christopher never reported to the school or his father the other 2 attacks out of fear of retaliation. However, after the April 19 incident, Bernardino was brought to tears remembering the moment he saw Christopher and says he was in a state of shock.
I just hugged him when I saw what had happened to him. I was in shock, and I didn't know what to do, whether to go with him in the ambulance.
Now, Bernardino says he tried to speak with school officials at Rutland High School, but says he has not received much attention and often has to wait long periods of time to get in contact with them.
Most frustrating part is having them not listen to me. I don't know if it is because I am Hispanic or because I do not speak English. But as a father, I am frustrated because today it happened to my son, but tomorrow it can happen to anyone. The principal has to do something because this cannot keep happening. Or what if they had killed my son?
WGXA has reached out to the school district and they declined to comment, citing FERPA laws, adding they, quote, have been in communication with this family and have been working with them to provide various supports that fall within the scope of school and district control, end quote. The County Sheriff's Office has also responded to our request for comment, confirming that warrants have been taken out for all of the suspects who were not juveniles, and 2 out of the 3 juveniles have been charged. They confirm the case remains under investigation. Emergency room visits for young people struggling with mental health have soared in the past decade, far beyond what our medical workforce can handle.
Angela Brown joins us now, and Angela reports that many young people are not getting the help that they really need.
To understand the scope of this worsening crisis, we turn to mental health professionals and suicide prevention like Brooke Curbs from Washington County Mental Health Authority, now seeing a troubling trend.
We're seeing many more young people report to the emergency department with thoughts of suicide than we did in previous years.
Kids as young as 6 struggling. This latest report from JAMA found suicide-related issues making up 4.2% of all pediatric ER visits in 2020, up from 0.9% just 9 years prior. Dr. Christine Crawford, National Alliance on Mental Illness.
What we're learning is that young children, as young as 6, 7 years old, are looking at suicide as a way to cope with the significant distress that they're experiencing.
But help may not be there. The mental health industry facing a crisis of its own. On average, there are only 14 child and adolescent psychiatrists per 100,000 U.S. children.
The emotional burden of this work has certainly made it difficult for a lot of people to continue to engage in this work.
This year, a group of bipartisan lawmakers introduced a bill aimed at attracting more candidates into mental health. Help needed, as psychologists warn about young people dealing with intense situations.
They just open up their social media and, they see global warming, they see school shootings, they see all sorts of intense information that their brains and their development isn't quite ready to synthesize on their own.
One number really stands out. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry found that only 50% of children and adults with diagnosed
worldwide through constructing, rehabilitating, and preserving homes. Executive Director for Macon Area Habitat for Humanity says every family helps build the houses for one another.
These 3 families have all overcome hardships to become habitat families. They have invested time through sweat equity and helping to build their homes and build homes for one another. All 3 of these families have worked together over the last year.
Erica Waller, new homeowner, says she picked Habitat for Humanity because she was ready for a change in her housing situation.
Well, I didn't want to be a renter no longer, so it was time. It was way past time. Like I said, I put it off for like 8 years.
Hall says their goal is to not only build and provide a home, but to also change the financial future for each family they help.
A house is a tremendous asset for a family. And so to go from being a renter to a home ownership, you have just changed the financial future for your family for generations to come.
Families not only build the houses from the ground up, but are also able to pick out details they like, such as cabinets and flooring. The houses took at least 6 months to fully build, and the organization's goal for this year is to build at least 10 new homes for families in the Macon area. Jerome Harris, new homeowner, says with the love and support given by the Macon Habitat for Humanity, they now have a special place in her heart.
With God and Macon Habitat for Housing, they're like a family. So again, me and my mom, we have been adopted into a new family, Habitat for Humanity.
4 houses have already been built in just this year alone in Macon, and for Habitat for Humanity is hopeful to build more in the future.
That's Veterans Elementary School celebrating the new season today with their Motown Fever Spring concert. The principal at the school says the concert is to help students learn about cultural history and how music can bring people together.
I hope from this show that once again they learn about Motown and that people that look just like them have done outstanding things and really contributed to the music world. And I also want them to learn more about their history, just learning that music has always been with us, and that music is the one thing that brings all people together.
There were also special performances by the Veterans Elementary School Chorus and Dance Program, who also performed to some of the most popular Motown hits.
This weekend is a pretty important one as we are celebrating mom. So whether you've got a breakfast in bed for her, you've got some eggs, some bacon, some coffee, just to celebrate all that moms truly do, and they do a lot. Sunday will be a nice day. We will have some storms to fire up in the afternoon, but it's not going to be a washout of a day. Saturday, it will be mostly dry. Temperatures will be topping out into the upper 80s, the high 87 degrees in Macon. On Sunday, it's a very summertime day. It's going to be hot, the high 92. The morning and the early afternoon will be dry, but then we get the pop-up storms. By the afternoon, they will be very hit or miss with exactly who sees the rain, and it's not going to be a washout. So a pretty nice day to celebrate mom. Right now, I am still tracking some severe weather that's in portions of Mississippi. That Boeing effect that has been moving through the state is beginning to weaken. They still do have a few severe thunderstorm warnings out, and we could get a slight hint of some of the severe weather. Generally south and west of Macon, we are dry with a few clouds that are beginning to move in from west to east. So radar is dry. The main area I'm watching for are for areas south and west of Macon. Taylor, Macon, Dooley, Crisp, and Sumter counties could get some storms that fire up around sunset, maybe 9, 10 o'clock, and 1 or 2 of them may turn severe. The primary threats would be for damaging winds or some large hail, but not expecting widespread severe weather. For the rest of us tonight, it will most likely stay dry, increasing clouds as that front begins to move closer to us. Partly cloudy at 7 o'clock, 84 degrees by 10 o'clock, 71 under mostly cloudy skies, and temperatures will be falling down into the mid to upper 60s as we get ready for our Friday morning. And then again by the afternoon on Friday, some storms will fire up again around 5 o'clock, generally north and west of Macon at 5 through the afternoon, around 7 o'clock, moving through the heart of our viewing area, and then moving south and east through Dublin around 10 o'clock. So tomorrow we will have more chances of storms firing up generally around this time tomorrow, but temperature-wise, it's still going to be another warm day. 87 degrees for your Friday in Macon, 82 in Gray, 86 in Sandersville, 87 degrees in McRae, 86 in Perry, and 86 degrees also in Warner Robins. So in your 10-day forecast tomorrow, it's definitely a summer day, the high 87 degrees. It's a touch more humid than today with some scattered storms firing up by the afternoon as early as 5 o'clock, generally moving northwest to southeast. For Mother's Day weekend, it's mostly dry on Saturday, 87 degrees also the high, but then we really ramp up temperatures for Mother's Day on Sunday. We start out dry, those pop-up storms firing up by the afternoon, 92 degrees, and then temperatures begin to step down as we get towards next work week, but it's definitely a summer pattern. Storms firing up each and every afternoon. Monday, 91 degrees, Tuesday, 87, Wednesday, some isolated storms too, 87 degrees, and next Thursday, some PM showers around the high, 84 degrees. Lastly, of course, here's tomorrow's Harrison's Body Shop Fish and Game forecast, peaks at 8:20 a.m. and 8:40 p.m.
Well, there's no such thing as too many dogs, right? Well, if you didn't get your fill of pups with the Westminster Dog Show, you can catch more dogs in action right here in the Mid-State.
Starting this morning and running through the weekend, the Crossroads of Georgia Cluster Dog Show is at the Perry Fairgrounds. The show is a collab between the Alabama and Georgia Kennel Clubs. The shows will start every day at 7:30 in McGill Building, Heritage Hall, and Georgia Grown Building at the fairgrounds. And don't worry about what it costs. Parking and admission are totally free.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gary Thigpen. I'm joined with Eileen here again today at the Rescue Animal Foundation in Milledgeville. And today we have Jeannie. Let's talk about Jeannie.
So Jeannie is about 2 years old. She came to us as a mother dog. Her puppies have all been since adopted through another rescue. She's a boxer mix of some sort. She's very sweet. She's a little high energy. She very much wants to be snuggly as well. So she's ready to go.
Come on. Let's find Jeannie a good home. She's got plenty of energy. She's just begging to go to a good home. And Eileen, if someone would like to adopt Jeannie, how do they go about doing that?
So they'll go to our website, animalrescuefoundation.org, and click on the How to Adopt tab, and there's an application there, and we'll be in touch.
All right, let's find her a really good home. She needs that. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Thank you.
Check out this big guy who was spotted near a Macon neighborhood. Did someone just splash water on him?
First responders were busy on Wednesday night after the estimated 11-foot-long alligator, dubbed Frank, interesting name, was found near Jennifer Drive.
Bibb County deputies say Frank was agitated and hissing as they worked to capture him. Eventually, they were successful, and the alligator was released back into a natural habitat. Now, you know, guys, from Florida, where I'm from, alligators are like kind of normal.
They're just kind of normal. You just walk in down the park and you're like, oh, let me just say hi.
All it has
no, you don't really say hi, but you know, it's Florida, so it's just like a big swamp area.
Right.
One hiss, and I'm out of there from Frank.
Yeah.
Do you think he would start running?
Yes.
They say alligators are faster than us.
They say
so what if
to
he
run
catches up to you?
zigzag. I think that's what
I've
somebody
heard that.
actually
Yeah,
said.
I think you are
run
supposed to run zigzag.
You know
I
what
hope
really
that never
wanna
happens.
see?
I hope Frank's never chasing me.
I really want to see in Florida the iguanas when it gets cold down there, they like fall off the trees
They
because it gets
freeze.
frozen.
Like-
Yeah, they freeze. They have like an iguana freeze like warning. I want
Oh
to see
my
that.
gosh, I feel
Yeah.
sorry for them when they do that.
It is like a thing where like meteorologists will then put it into the newscast and put like, be careful with the iguanas, they're freezing.
Don't
It's
fall
below
off the
temperature for
trees."
them. And people are like, okay, whatever.
That'd be funny.
All right. Well, we thank you for joining us for WGXA News Live on YouTube.
Have a great evening.